Good evening. We're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. We don't have a quorum, but we can go ahead and start with the reporting section. And we do know another board member should be here real short, just have to drive in from work. So the next item on our agenda would be citizens communication. Do we have any? Okay, thank you. Dr. Wallace, the next item is your Chancellor's report.
And for the purposes of the community and for the minutes, until you establish a quorum, Madam Chairman, none of the reports you're receiving up to the quorum establishment are informing any decisions that would be made tonight. So you're comfortable legally for listening to a report because you're not making decisions off my report. I'm just reporting what I've been up to the last few months or weeks. So. You'll hear later on an update, or I'd like to actually have Melinda Carroll come forward to start real quickly and give you an update on our success of graduation. At your desk this evening is our 2022 Spring Commencement, kind of just a little bit of a flyer to that, and she's going to talk about that just a second because it was a really great season for us. So. Is it turned on? There we go.
I think so.
Yeah, you might
Maybe
pull it. Yeah, there you go. Or point it toward you.
No, I'm excited to report to you about the Spring 2022 commencement that was held on Friday, May 6th at UNT Coliseum. That's the second time we've been able to host our graduation there. The first time was in spring of 2019. I was going to say 2020. No, that's whenever the world changed. But it was a wonderful time to celebrate our student successes of completing their degrees and certificates. We did see definitely a change in our student population of those that graduated. Dr. Wallace recognized the first generation population, and over at least half of those students stood up as being first generation college students. So we know we are making an impact to our community. During the ceremonies, we did hold two. One was for the health science programs, and then the second was for all of our Associate of Applied Science degrees and certificates in career and technical education, as well as our Associate of Arts, Associate of Science, and then Associate of Art in Teaching. But it was one of the largest classes that attended graduation, with over 451 who attended. And the last count on what I gave you, it said 689 applicants. We actually have over 850 who have applied to graduate. That was just the count after, in between the time that this was ran to now. So we are seeing a growing number of applicants for graduation. And it's, definitely tied directly to the work of our advisors, success coaches, Michelle Huggins, who isn't able to be here tonight, and some of that work, and just a collective effort throughout the college. So we appreciate you all allowing us to have that event each May at the University of North Texas Coliseum.
I will pause, Madam Chairman, so you may establish your quorum if you'd like to.
Yes, okay, so we now have a quorum, so we'll go ahead and continue with the Chancellor's report, please.
No, it was a great evening. We were so excited. I think the evidence of the number of graduates, if you remember a couple of weeks ago, our last board meeting, I believe it was the last one, Tracy Flanagan mentioned our Pathways work, and I think we're seeing the direct results of the Pathway seamless work of our students coming to fruition with graduation, timely graduation, and completion of those certificates and degrees. So it was a great night and a great afternoon, and we really appreciate everyone being there. Since our last board meeting, I had the privilege of presenting the work of the Career and Technical College Joint Formula Advisory Committee recommendations. As the chair of that state committee, I'm required to report the work officially to the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board, that sounds like a number, but the actual board itself. And we're very fortunate working with the commissioner on those funding recommendations. We were kind of tasked with 5 charges. The committee understood that the work would have to aid our institutions in post-pandemic education, in which learning loss and student support services were going to be even more imperative than they've ever been in the past for student success. And also, the committee understood the work would be what would actually be what we would fall back on in the event the Commission on Community Colleges finance was delayed or the work was different. And so this is what recommendations would be moving forward to the next session legislatively for community colleges, technical colleges, let's TSTC, and the Lamar State colleges. The recommendations that we submitted to the coordinating board were a culmination of a lot of hours of work by each member of the committee. I was fortunate as chair to have some really, really marvelous members from across the state, all those coming from the institutions in which they serve. Our intention was first and foremost to make sure our work added in the value of fulfilling the newly revised building a Talent Strong Texas. And by the way, on that note, I'm not sure we've notified the board or the public that the 60 by 30 Texas plan has been replaced. And the new plan is building a Talent Strong Texas. Arguably, as a side note, that's really not a bad thing for community colleges, because what it's opening is an adult learner gets credit for these things. So it's opening not just 18 to 34, but anyone who earns high school credentials in CTE or any workforce programs are going to be credited back to our work. So that's an exciting thing for the state. As a result of the recommendations, though, we focused not only on academic instruction, but we did a lot of focus on workforce education and trying to get citizens back to work in Texas, either through skill, reskilling, or just a whole back-to-work program. Highlights of the work that will aid the state in workforce development from a community college perspective are that we have requested the renaming of critical fields to targeted fields and updating the targeted fields to reflect the highest growth statewide and regionally. That's been an argument that's been difficult for us as we try to meet the regional or local demand. Not always do those targeted fields catch up to that. I'll never forget the day that nursing, for example, was taken off of a targeted or critical fields list, and we're thinking, but we need like 300 nurses tomorrow. And that will give flexibility, if this is adopted ultimately to the state, to be able to do some of that regionally or locally. We also requested the restoration of non-critical fields to 2 points from 1.2 success points, with adding non-qualified or qualified non-credit workforce programs to that. If you remember, in years past, that's not been CE or continuing ed has not been funded in that mechanism. We've asked for workforce continuing ed hours in 15 and 30 attainment be qualified for those funds. Additionally, the committee recommended funding inflation and projected growth in the semester credit hours for 4 legacy institutions that receive general academic and bachelor's degrees. Those are 4 that have been the first to offer baccalaureate degrees. The total increase and ask from the Formula Advisory Committee to the state for the next biennium is $196 million, or 10.7%. You also would have seen, if you saw that report, that the state college formula request also adjusted for inflation. We're excited that we used the higher ed indicator rather than the consumer price index, because these are very different indexes, and in the past the consumer price index doesn't always account as equally or as fairly as the higher education price index does. So we're excited to be using the HEPI. The technical colleges, which are the TSTCs, requested their funds a 35.9% return value formula. I remind you that they're funded based on work placement post-graduation. So we really worked hard on that. And so the coordinating board did pass those recommendations, and that will be moving forward now to work with the legislative budget board, and et cetera, in the next biennium. Following that meeting and a TAC meeting, it was a busy week, I was able to travel to Bryan College Station, which is really hard for a Texas Tech graduate to do, but it was marvelous to get to meet with the Greater Texas Foundation. As you remember, the foundation funded the College for Upstart Marketing and Technology for the Red River Promise, and they had requested that I come speak to their board. After doing that and answering a lot of their questions, they're really supportive. They really are excited about further data from us. Dr. Eric Bann also joined me in that meeting. They offered great appreciation for our work and a desire to further serve rural Texas, look forward to results. And we did have some very exciting conversations about the adult learner as a next step. How do we reach and how do we begin to fund those that may want to come back and do a degree they never attained or a program they've never been able to do. And they have a lot of interest in speaking to Nctc about future adult learning and how Promise could reflect that. So that's exciting. Appreciate their continued support. Sue there is just phenomenal, and they were very welcoming to us. I'd like to congratulate Tarrant Perkins cosmetology students. She has been doing some really good work. All 16 of her students from one class passed the state board on the same day. And so that's always exciting to see our students successful, and they did a great job on that. As a final note, just a couple of things. At your desk this evening, you will find the Chancellor's report. That is my yearly report to the board that you serves as a instrument in which you evaluate my performance each year. That is before you, for you to take with you. You'll be receiving from the chairwoman an email in the next day or two of my evaluation and your self-evaluation, and that will be electronically done, and a due date, I believe she's going to try to set of June 1, and that's something that will be returned, and then we'll be able to collect that and get the results to you as soon as possible in August when we return back for that evaluation. Also, we would inform the board this evening that the June board meeting will need to move to June 13th. Based on just some dates that are conflicting with some other activities and some conferences and some things like that. So June 13, that Monday, will be our next board meeting. Hopefully that will work for everyone's schedule. That's all I have this evening, unless there's questions about anything that you've heard.
No? All right, thank you very much for your report. The next item is reports to the board, and the first one would be the financial report from Dr. Miller, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. You'll find the financials for end of month April in your board packet, and as always, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to attempt to answer those for you. I really wanted to kind of take the time that I have to update everyone on one thing that we did at the Finance Committee meeting last week, but we have received from the coordinating board the financial condition analysis that they print once a year for all community colleges in the state, and it really wasn't, the results were not that surprising because of all the federal dollars that all institutions are getting. All the community colleges are in much a stronger financial shape than they have been recently, and Nctc was no exception to that, but they have 7 financial indicators that they collect data on and compare schools and compare performances, and all 7 of those we passed as having no financial stress on the institution whatsoever, and just wanted to bring that up. First time since I've been here that on that annual report we've had all clear numbers, and so that was exciting to see. Are there any specific questions, anything you'd like for me to address that you see in the financials?
Dr. Miller, if you could remind the board one thing about what stress is defined as in those reports.
Okay.
In the sense that stress goes both ways. You could be...
Yes. Basically, the report is a collection of financial ratios that are used in industry and also in higher ed, but predominantly they are ratios that help determine a financially stable organization. And sometimes when schools have or fall outside the maximum or minimum requirements the state wants to see, sometimes it's simply because they are in a fast growth situation. That can cause one of these ratios to become unstable. And so sometimes some of our colleagues that we think of as being the wealthier, financially safe schools do find themselves missing on a couple of these targets, but it's usually because of that. They're in a fast growth environment. But in our case, we're just pleased that all the numbers do point towards stability, which is exactly what I would tell someone if they asked me directly about the finances at this school.
Do you have any comments or questions? All right. Thank you very
Okay.
much for the report.
Thank you.
The next item would be Achieving the Dream Report. Ms. Carroll?
As Melinda is coming forward, I want to just congratulate her and our team, Daisy Garcia, a lot of people involved in it, but we have just recently gone through one of our visits from Achieving the Dream, and the report is to come, but our coaches were very, very complimentary of the work we're doing. Made the statement to me in the closing meeting with just the two coaches and myself that we are seeing dramatically different approaches to data, that the shifts that have been made are remarkable compared to where we were 5-6 years ago. The Pathways work is imperative to this, and so I just want to publicly say to that team of people how wonderful they did. This work's continuing and the importance of it, and good job to them for that report.
Well, I'll start by saying thank you on behalf of that whole team, because it is an institutional-wide approach, and many of the people in this room were involved in this meeting and have been involved. So it is exciting to be at this point with our work with Achieving the Dream, and where we're not really calling it Achieving the Dream anymore institutionally. Whenever we talk about it, we're talking about I Dream, and that means our equity work and our student success work, and it becomes, I feel like, more natural in our approaches to everything that we do. So we did have a visit on May 3rd and 4th with our Achieving the Dream coaches. Dr. Deb Fontaine, who's our new teaching and learning coach, she's focusing on the instructional side of our institution, and then Dr. Linda Hagedorn is our data coach, who has been with us the entire time. During the visit, we did meet with the Pathways team, which is incorporated with many of both our instructional areas. It's the group that has been doing the Pathways work over the course since 2016, and as well as the Teaching and Learning Center leaders, those faculty members that are involved in establishing, creating that particular group. Chancellor's Cabinet had a lengthy meeting with our coaches, as well as all of the instructional divisions also had an opportunity to visit with the coaches and looking at the data that's in front of you. That includes our institutional, as we have a goal and have had a goal of reviewing data on a regular basis. The purpose why we really wanted to start having the coaches help us with that, they recommended that we start looking regularly at early momentum metrics. And so the two first charts that are in front of you are those metrics for Hispanic students as well as Black and African American students, and really starting to look at equity gaps. So we did look at that information for 2018, 2019, and 2020. And there is has been a request and a desire to look at a 5-year trend as we're looking and preparing for future, because we know things have changed drastically, but we want to know what it looked like pre-2020 also, since our enrollment has shifted. And each group also, the final parts of your, the charts that were provided are the course success rates that we looked at by race and ethnicity, really focusing on equity gaps within those for all of our academic, or at least math, English, and history, trying to really look across those particular divisions as well as the CTE programs. And throughout those meetings, especially in the afternoon, there was a desire amongst our faculty leaders to really be able to dig down into their own data and really be able to start looking at those equity gaps at, within their specific areas. So that was a result of that, which is exciting. So from the visit, we did plan and have meetings up until September to actively meet with the coaches to better understand and review our data, with a data summit that's going to look at this same data that you have in front of you on September the 30th across the divisions, not just focusing on faculty, but also including those that work with students, every aspect, and really taking a capacity cafe or world cafe type approach where we're collaborative and looking at data in small groups and the reporting out and looking for, barriers that may be evident in the data or not evident in the data, as well as equity gaps throughout the student experience. So it's really taking our look in data past the initial entry point into the college, into the actual, once they become a student here. So that's really the data that's in front of you, and I apologize it wasn't given to you any sooner, but this is the data that we're going to task also Chancellor's Cabinet with actively looking at and making sure that we report to the board every month this type of data to you, so you can really see the trends as we're speaking with you, and not just, you know, quarterly, wanting to actively provide this information to you on a regular basis.
One of the things we would like to do, and this is something we're adopting in Cabinet and other areas, I had the pleasure of, at the Pathways Conference, being a part of some Aspen Presidential Institute training. And one of the things that rang true to me during that training was the notion of strategy over update, that so much of the time we spend in committee work and in our meetings, even internally, we update each other on what could be just an email or here's my latest that we need to do, and not spending enough time perhaps on the real strategies associated with the data we're gleaning in. And so what we would like to do beginning in the fall for the board is each month we will have a data dive at the beginning, and we're talking 5-7 minutes, where we share a current number from one of our departments that is important for the board to understand. And so that's part of this strategy. If you look at this data, it's very telling, and we don't know exactly why yet. The data is simply the data. When you see increased success rates during a pandemic, you begin to ask the question, what did we do as an institution to better serve? And we can guess about that, but we don't necessarily know what that was. Was it better attention? Did the online piece actually have more attention given, or do we simply offer more grace, perhaps, you know, where we said, okay, I understand your dilemma. We don't know, but we will be able to garner further by looking at the longitudinal data to that, disaggregating it and saying, okay, listen, we're seeing a trajectory upward with this particular ethnicity or this particular socioeconomic group, where we're not seeing the same return on success with another. And we still see that the averages among some of our groups aren't where they need to be to begin with. And so sharing that with the board, putting that in front of you, will enable us to make sure that you're engaged not only, but also that you keep us and hold us accountable for that data in making sure that we're really serving the needs of our students overall. So we're excited about this, but this was interesting to many of our own. Any questions about the data? Melinda can answer all of them.
If I can, I will say I will get back to you. And I do want to especially thank we had a short period of time to pull all of this together, and the IR team,
did great,
the
yeah.
research and reporting team really came together and helped us understand the data. They met directly with the success or the Achieving the Dream coaches before they were here and also whenever they were here. So definitely appreciate all of their work because they're helping all of us understand the data, and if we have questions, trying to make sure that we're pulling it accurately.
And we are finalizing the details on a data summit for the college in the fall. That data summit will be based on departments at this point. So, for example, instructional departments will be able to sit together, look at the data of their departments compared to others and success rates, and share what they think may be working or not. And so we're excited about that. And then we may also, Ms. Metzler, Chairman, work with the board in a pre-board meeting to look at some data and say what is meaningful to you all, what do you think, and show some of that to you all as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the next item would be the NCTC Alliance Report.
So we have two guests with us, or team members with us this evening, that are going to give you an update. We're excited about Alliance and the new strategies associated with those programs. And our first is Mame Darkwa. Mame is our chair over many of our health science programs that we're working toward at that location. So she has a handout, I believe, as well for you. And then she's going to discuss some of that. And then she will be followed, I believe, by Daryl Smith next, maybe. So.
Good evening, and thank you for having me. As part of the True Grant being offered at the Alliance campus, we're very fortunate for this. Our students are super excited about this grant. And 3 of the programs that we chose, and we chose these programs based on really, like the clinical medical assistant program is our most successful program. I've been here 11 years and 2 months, and we've never killed that class before. We always have a successful class. And so we picked that based on just the continuity of that class. The qualifying process for the True Grant is really simple. They have to be a Texas resident. They have to have been impacted by COVID, so they have to make a COVID impact statement on the application. And then they have to complete a FAFSA. And males register for selective service, which is common with all grants. And then we make them complete the Allied Health Program application. And the reason why we make them complete that before we get into the grant is if we have a student who has, say, immunization requirements, if they complete the grant requirements and they don't have immunizations, they can't proceed. So we want to make sure that they complete the program requirements, all program requirements before they go on to the grant requirements. So our clinical medical assistant program is 120 hours of classroom, and then they do a 160-hour externship, which they do at either doctor's offices or hospitals. And this semester, we actually partnered with Texas Health Physicians Group. They came over, and we have 17 in the spring class. They came and interviewed our class, and they picked 11 of these for different facilities around DFW area, and the goal is to retain them after their externship. So we're really excited about that. And then our students walk out of that class with 2 certifications. So they get the clinical medical assistant certification and also the certified phlebotomy technician. So the other class we picked is the certified medical administrative assistant class. It's actually our shortest class. It's 50 hours. And we're also going to add 37 hours of medical terminology through National Health Career Association, NHA, which is our credentialing agency. And this summer, because our building is still not ready, we're doing online. We're offering this class online. And we're going to try to do an in-person in the fall. And they get out of here with their national certification, so it doesn't matter where they go, they can still use this certification. And it's also, this program, they're able to go forward with the Medical Office Technology OSA, which is also a new program that we developed for the True Grant. So a student that completes this can also go on and do that. Because our goal is to have them have stackable credentials so they can be more marketable. The third program that we have is a medical billing and coding program. This is offered online right now, and then in July, when our building is ready, and I always say our building, but when our building is ready in Alliance, we're going to try to do an in-person class, and then in the fall, we'll also do an in-person class. It's 80 hours, and typically, they don't get out of here. They get out of here with an Nctc certification, but the True Grant is actually going to allow them to have the CPC, which is the Certified Professional Coder certification. So after they're done with the class, we're going to give them a grant, and they're going to be able to certify for that. And this is also transferable to the Medical Office Technology, OSA. And again, we are looking at stackable credentials. And then the Medical Office Technology is what we developed with Debbie Huffman's group. And it's exciting that the medical billing and coding and the medical administrative assistant students can go on to this and get more training to get qualified for an OSA from Nctc. All the classes are going to be offered online to offer flexibility. Again, the True Grant, you can be anywhere in Texas and be able to qualify for it. So offering it online is going to be really great for students who don't live really close here. And we're also going to give them an option of an 8-week or a 16-week session. So they have the flexibility of that. So that's all I have.
If you don't have any questions, then Daryl will come up and tell us about the other portions of the campus. And if
Thank
you have
you.
questions after, we can always invite
Okay.
Ame back up.
Good evening. I was going to talk about the other portion of the True Grant, which is the consortium portion that we partner with Western Texas College. We, from our side of it, we got an award of $1.5 million, and most of that is going to go towards capital equipment to help populate the Alliance Training Center. For one program primarily, which we took the industrial mechanics program and redesigned it and turned it into industrial mechatronics program. And that wasn't my choice of verbiage there. That was our advisory board, actually. But a lot of people don't understand what mechatronics means, but in a nutshell, it's going to focus on robotics, automated processes, manufacturing, logistics, And it's kind of the accumulation of all those technologies into one program. So we're excited about that. There's going to be a basic level 1, a 30-hour level 1, which is also a 1-year course, and then it's going to be an associate's degree, also tied to that. There are also going to be, and I'm saying also a lot, right? There are going to be some industry certifications that there's two main bodies. One is SACA, and the other one's is NC3. We decided to go with NC3 on that because the certifications are a little bit more robust and they're easier to put into micro categories so that they're smaller and easier to award to students along as they progress through the program. So that's kind of why we chose that industry certification body. There is also another pathway from non-credit to credit that is going to filter into this program, and it's going to be a really nice fit. There are 2 concentrations in the mechatronics program. One of them is focused on more of the automation component. The other one is focused on the electrical component. So like control systems for the electrical control systems, and then automation, which is robotics and sensors and conveyors and all that. So this is going to be a relatively new adventure for Nctc. It's going to be pretty leading edge technology, and from my point of view, this is my industry background is advanced manufacturing. So I'm excited about it. I know my face probably doesn't show it, but the other area that I wanted to talk about was just kind of a quick update on Alliance. Currently, we did get approval for the Phase 1 floor plan, but it's currently being permitted and submitted to the city of Fort Worth for final approval so that we can get the build out started. The target date for that is 7/1. Hopefully. I think we're on track with that, but you know, everybody kind of knows how construction can go sometimes. We are going to have a significant market outreach program that's it's already started, but the bulk of it will be in the June-September timeframe. And it's a very robust initiative to get attention not only to the Alliance Training Center, but also for our new programs on both sides, the healthcare and the mechatronics program. And I think that was it. Any questions?
So I heard you say the city of Fort Worth,
Yes.
which kind of shocked me a little. Can you, Dr. Wallace, maybe you can?
Well, I don't want to put our team on the spot here because that is a service area question, so I will handle that one for you, sir, but don't go far. The statutory service areas for North Central Texas College include all of Denton County. There is a north portion of the city of Fort Worth in Denton County. The city of Fort Worth is not covered by Tarrant County in totality. Tarrant County Community College is only Tarrant County. So yes, North Central Texas College service area includes North Fort Worth that is in Denton County.
Okay, that makes
Wasn't that
sense.
just a legalese
Yeah.
as you can be? But we have said for years, and we knew for years, the Alliance Corridor, that area is a growing area, and this is getting us the industrial training facilities we've needed for a long time in Denton County, period. And so I applaud the work of this team. There is space to grow. We are looking at other programs. We're looking at continuing ed. And right now, and Debbie could give you more details of this, we're looking at what I'm calling True 2. And it's the next step that the state's awarding another series of grants that we may be able to get as much as $500,000 additionally for that campus to add even further infrastructure in need. And we're in the process of turning that in the next few days. It's quite a deadline, but excited about it. You heard some of those programs. We'll be reporting back to you once we're moved in and we see that enrollment, but this is a great move for North Central Texas College. The only other thing I point out is you hear us referring to it as a location, or you'll hear us refer to it as an industrial training facility. We cannot and we will not formally be referring to it as a campus because it's not comprehensive. There is not going to be full library staff. There's not going to be all the enrollment guides there or serviced like a traditional campus. It's literally a facility where you are advised and things going on from one of the other three, and you go there just for special courses. So that's why you'll hear us use the term location or Nctc Alliance, not campus, is that for accreditation reasons. So, questions for
Other
any of them?
comments? Okay, thank you very, oh, okay.
Okay. Well, thank you. We
Very good.
appreciate it. The team has done the work and done a great job, and we're excited about it, so.
Very good, thank you. All right, the next report to the board would be the employee giving campaign. Debbie?
It truly is my pleasure to come tonight and tell you about the employee giving campaign. I'm so proud of all of our employees, and I want to share some of the data that we received this year. This is our 6th year to actually do the employee giving campaign, and I went back and we've actually raised over $385,000 in the 5 years, so very proud of that number. Great job to all of our employees for that. And as we look at what scholarships and emergency aid does for our students, I shared some scholarship data on this little flyer with you, but I also wanted to let you know that from an emergency aid perspective, we looked at the last 5 years when we've given emergency aid, 88% of those students that got emergency aid stayed in their class, and 56% of them actually enrolled in the next semester. So, when you're talking to people about does emergency aid make a difference, it really does make a difference. And you'll probably remember that our emergency aid fund started through our employees. When we did our first year of employee giving, that was the #1 thing that employees said, we want to be able to help those students that are really, needing that extra support. So kudos to all our employees for actually making that a real thing to help our students. And as it's grown, it really has made a big impact for our students. Also, I want to personally thank all of our dealers. And as y'all know, our theme this year was place a safe bet by investing in our Nctc students. We had 27 employees that were our dealers, and so they helped us get out the pledge forms to our employees. They also helped to kind of give them a little extra nudge. Hey, don't forget, that kind of thing. And so I gave you a list of all of those, but thank those publicly for their support and their help with that. And then it's very exciting to tell you that 66.32% participation rate this year. We are continuing to get donations through the end of May, but as of right now, this is the most we've ever collected, over $107,000 in donations from our employees to help our students.
Very good.
So
That's very
that is
good.
just amazing. As a little bit of a thank you to those that participated, we gave them a travel mug, and so we put one of those at your desk so that you each could have that as well. But just want to brag on our employees and the support that they're providing our students. So thank you so much for letting me share that information. Any questions? Thank you.
That's awesome news, thank you. All right, the next item on our agenda is the consent agenda items. And since there's only one, I don't think we can pull it from the deal. So we'll take a motion to approve the consent agenda items. Let's have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Raise your right hand. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. All right. The next item is discussion and possible action on the consideration of the contractor for the Corinth campus maintenance building. Mr. Ball?
Yes, this past January, you all approved us to build a new Corinth maintenance facility and allowed us to move ahead with that project. So at this time, we're coming to you now with a couple of the bids that we received as we move forward with this. Our architects have already finished with the drawings and the design, and the drawings are with the city right now awaiting final approval. And we expect that to come through very, very soon. And we did go and solicit bids in the Denton and Gainesville newspapers for the building pad, the dirt work, and we did that separately from the slab, foundation slab, and the pre-engineered building. And we do intend to have our internal maintenance staff do all of the build-out. And our facilities director here is also licensed as a general contractor, so he will be overseeing that project at the Corinth campus. The building pad site bids came in. We only received one from A&B Excavation, and that was for $84,630. And then the slab in the pre-engineered metal building came in from PVP Building Systems for $138,190. And as you can see, the budget there is well within the budget that we established. So the administration would like to recommend that you approve the contractors for the total amount of $222,820.
All right, well, I would need a motion for that approval. Motion by Ms. Morris, do we have a second? Second by Mr. Ott. Additional discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your right hand. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the next item on our agenda is executive session, and we do not have a need to have one of those this evening. So the next item would be that we adjourn. So thank you all for attending. We definitely appreciate it. We have a motion? Vicky? Okay, second. Second by Ms. Morris.
I think the marketing department also has left a new T-shirt design on your desk, so please take that with you.
Thank
If
you.
you need an alternate size, please see Sandy Auto. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you.